I remember early on, I didn't really know if I had anything that I was really good at. Like I didn't have a craft. I didn't have, I had poor handwriting. I was like not an artist in any way. And when I learned how to use a knife and chop and started to understand symmetry on a plate, I thought, maybe I do have some sort of an artistic talent that I want to maybe explore upon. And from there, it was great. I went home one day and I told my parents, I said, I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, or I at least want to go to school for this. That was pretty much my experience getting into this field. And from there, after culinary school, it's been an amazing journey of different restaurants and mentors. And that's really how Crave Culinary was born. We took all of the energy and experience that we had and everything that we had already done and said, we want to set this path now to open this up to the community, to just build a new way of trying our food and service. And Crave became our baby from that point forward.
When Brian and I met and we were talking about opening up a catering company, it kind of was just a match made in heaven in a few ways. Because he has the back of the house experience, I have the front of the house experience, so it just worked really well to move forward with that venture together.
She taught me a lot early on, really. With the hotel experience that she had, it was a total different world than an independent restaurant world, and so I think together, combined, our forces really made Crave a big success in that way. I like to make calculated decisions in life, and I'm sorry, but it took us 4 years before I finally actually said, yeah, I'm ready. Let's get married. And it wasn't really Nicole, it was me. I wanted to make sure that I was ready.
I remember exactly the chairs we were sitting in when we decided we wanted to start having a family. And when you decide that you want to have a family, you just think, oh, you try and have a baby and then you have a baby. And that wasn't our journey, unfortunately. And I think that was really the first time that we had to put our faith over action. We're the kind of people that if we wanted something, we would work really hard for it, and then you got it. And that's just not how pregnancy and infertility works. You can want it more than anything in the world, and you can say you're gonna do whatever you can to make that happen, and that's just not how it works. And it was really the first time, you just had to sit in your journey with faith.
Everything that we had wanted in life, finally, we felt like we had. We had struggled for 3 years with infertility, and we finally had this beautiful daughter, Remington Kate Roland, and she just became the love of our life. And business was at its peak. Honestly, I feel like everything was humming. The restaurants were doing well. Crave was doing fantastic.
I was recently reminded by a close friend that about 3 days before the accident, after going through everything we went through and all the loss with Remy, I texted her saying, this is the happiest I've been in my entire life. And then 3 days later, everything changed.
Celebrity chef and brand new father Brian Roland is recovering from critical injuries at Lee Health tonight. The owner of Crave Culinary was crushed by an elevator Saturday night while catering a party at the Ferrari dealership in Naples. Tonight, he is still in the intensive care unit.
For about a week after the accident, Brian was in induced coma, so we really had no idea the toll that the accident fully took on him until after that. With the brain bleed, that was the thing I and the doctors and our family was most worried about. Like the bones and that kind of thing can heal, but the brain injury was the scariest part, because we thought, well, even if his body heals, what is his mental capacity gonna be like?
On my side, after I kind of came to a little bit and understood where I was, I had to learn how. I think my first reaction was, am I ever going to be able to cook again? Am I ever going to be able to do what I love? Am I going to be able to play with my daughter? Am I going to be able to run around with her and lift her up in the air and celebrate all those moments that I have been looking forward to for so, so long? And I think at that point, for the first time in my life, I started to have feelings of depression. I'm always a positive person, a glass half full, optimistic. And I knew I could always fall back on the things that I was good at. And this was just a new experience for me, and something that just left me feeling very empty and scared and uncertain. And if it weren't for Nicole, I would not have made it through. So in May of 2024, I was working on something here in the living room, and Nicole was in the kitchen. She was brewing iced tea, and Remy comes running in, and she says, "Mommy, Mommy," and she was trying to get her attention for something. And I just remember Nicole saying, "Now, Remy, stand back. Mommy's gonna pour some hot liquid. I don't want it to splash on you." And she turns around to go away, and as she does that, Nicole proceeds to pour the water in, and the entire side of the mason jar explodes. All I heard was a crash. It was silent for about what felt like 30 seconds, but it was probably only 3 or 4 seconds. And then Nicole screaming, and I turn around and she's walking towards me with Remy in her hand. And Remy was in shock, and then the pain hit and screaming hit, and it was just so difficult for us to, in that moment, figure out what the heck do you do right now, and how do we console her and comfort her. Her skin was already starting to bubble and peel in certain areas instantly, and she was red all over. So we decided quickly we got to get to the hospital. So we drove off to the hospital, and they cooled her off, and then they said, "This burn is way bigger than we here in Naples can take care of. We're going to have to transport you right away to Miami."
I've learned a lot of things about medical procedures in our past 5 years, and one of the things about burns is they get worse over time as they start developing, which I hadn't known at that time.
Each day, as Nicole mentioned, it just looked worse and worse and worse, and we were terrified that our precious baby was now going to have this memory, and this pain, and certainly we have it. And after each surgery, she was wrapped like a full mummy in her head, and all you could see was her 2 eyes and her mouth, and that was like that for 24 to 48 hours, and it was just so heartbreaking. And but even through all of that, we were able to still see her smile, and that was our goal, was just to keep that girl as happy as we could, and just know that God has a purpose for this challenge too, and we're gonna get through this. And it's been a lot, really, for her too, to not have her dad for a couple of months and go through all of this. And she's had eye surgery already as well to correct some of her vision, and she wears these cute little glasses, which are just sort of like signature now look, which we love. Super cute. But yeah, it's we've definitely experienced a lot in the last 3.5, 4 years that it's part of our journey now. We keep just saying it's making us stronger, but there are times that what everyone sees on the outside is not necessarily what we feel on the inside.
I think for us, we just want to spread more awareness on mental health and normalize it a little bit more, and support a cause that believes in that.
When I learned, even before the accident, of the brain care and brain health that David Lawrence was embarking on, it was very eye-opening to me, and I knew in my heart that this was my calling. I knew that this was what I wanted to be a part of, and I remember quickly saying, this is it. Anything I can do to be a part of David Lawrence right now and help this journey come to a reality. If it helps me or someone else live a few more days of our life, it's worth every moment. So brain health now is way more important to me than ever, and to all of us. And I think that aligning with David Lawrence is a no-brainer. No pun intended, I guess.